Although many businesses have reopened and the economy is improving, some in our community continue to struggle. On this episode, hear from local experts about Johnson County and its partners and how they're addressing some essential needs, including housing, utilities, and more.
Whether you live in or just love Johnson County, Kansas, JoCo on the Go has everything Johnson County. Here's what's happening and what's coming up in the community you call home.
Thanks for joining us for JoCo on the Go. I'm your host, Teresa Freed, a Johnson County resident and employee of Johnson County government. It's been a tough year and a half for many people through the pandemic, not just for health concerns, but also making ends meet. Here to talk more about that are Larry Kutcher with Johnson County Aging and Human Services and David Armovich with the Shawnee Mission School District and also the program called Project Home. Thank you both for joining us.
It's good to be
for
here.
having us.
All right. Well, just to start off with, and we'll go ahead and begin with Larry. If you want to describe your role with the county, kind of what you do, and the relevant work with this topic today.
Sure. I am one of the co-managers at the Northeast Multi-Service Center, where we help folks with utility assistance, rental assistance, and food pantry assistance as well. And I also have a pretty important role with Project Home, in terms of being one of the key agencies to kind of help some of those families in need.
All right. And David?
Yes, it's good to be with you all. I'm the homeless liaison, the McKinney-Vento homeless liaison for the Shawnee Mission School District. And McKinney-Vento is a federal program that started in the 80s, and it's a program that is designed specifically to help our students who are living in non-permanent housing to take care of all of the barriers that might exist for them to be in school.
All right. Great information. And so we're going to talk a little bit about just this past year and a half. It's been tough for a lot of people. As I mentioned, health concerns, of course, but then there are also those basic needs that people have to some extent been struggling with. And so can you both just talk a little bit about how those you serve are experiencing those issues?
We've had a lot of families where one of the spouses may have lost income, and so they're down to one income. Or we have single parents that are trying to teach their kids at home, and so they're not able to work as much, kind of had to go through their savings, have had real struggles with the unemployment system, even getting to talk to somebody and going several months without a paycheck from unemployment. And we're seeing a lot of folks that we have never seen before. They've never been in this situation. And so I've definitely seen an increase in folks coming to us in need.
Yeah, I would ditto that. And certainly Human Services has been around to help folks prior to the pandemic. And I noticed that I'm calling Larry a lot more these days. As Larry mentioned, people are maxing out on their savings, but they're also maxing out on their credit cards. And if they had retirement, they're getting into that. And so we're seeing people in pretty desperate situations. And one of the big challenges that existed before the pandemic that continues to be a challenge for us is affordable housing and livable wages. And so when you throw a pandemic on, it just exacerbates that situation even further.
And I often talk about this, that there's this perception that Johnson County is very well off and that everyone is doing great. And you shed a little bit of light on what the reality is.
Yeah. In our district, we had at one point, probably 50 years ago, I would say we had 50,000 students, all mostly Caucasian. And at this point, we have about 28,000 students. And we speak over 90 languages in our district, and things have definitely changed. And I would say there's a real misconception about Johnson County, and we have several of our schools that have almost 80% free and reduced. So, it's definitely affects our community.
And can you kind of walk us through how people come in contact both with the county and through this program to access these services?
For us, a lot of times utility companies will actually refer folks to us if they're struggling with utilities. United Way 211, if people call that number, a lot of times they'll refer folks to us. And then the agencies within our community will also refer folks like Salvation Army, El Centro, Catholic Charities, Jewish Family. We all kind of work together and partner with each other to kind of help some of the folks that we're trying to serve that have higher needs. So
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful parts of Project Home is that we do have Larry and Human Services, but we also have Catholic Charities, Johnson County Mental Health, Workforce Partnership. We have a Jewish Family Services, Division of Family Children Services, a couple of faith-based communities all coming together. And so we can be alerted at any one of those platforms. Larry might be getting a call from Catholic Charities, or I might be getting a call from Jewish Family Services. But and within the school district, which has been tremendously supportive of Project Home, we also have our teachers, our administrators, our social workers, our counselors, all exceptional folks that are really attuned to our families and our students who are in need, and somehow, some way, they find themselves to either Larry or myself or one of our partners in Project Home.
All right, and just to back up a little bit, Larry, can you talk about the role of Aging and Human Services? What exactly do you provide?
Our main things that we really provide are utility assistance for folks. And a family, I want to kind of give you an example to qualify for our services. For a family of four, the gross income would be about $4,417. And so we have to go by that 200% guideline. But with us, we're one of the higher in the community. Some of the other agencies are like 150%. So once they get connected with us, whatever zip code they're in, they'll get referred to one of our multi-service centers. And then we'll kind of go over a financial with them and kind of see what their needs are. And then we're able to help them with utilities and then also food pantry. And we will really dig into resources with them to see what else is out there, either on the state level. And I know we got CARES Act money. And between all of us multi-service centers with the county, we were able to help over $200,000 worth of rental assistance for those folks. And we knocked it out in probably like a month and a half. So we're very efficient with that. But and anytime we get any sort of that government money, we'll help folks even more than we have been. So.
All right. And David, can you just kind of talk about how Project Home was created and what exactly that is?
Sure. In essence, it's a collaborative effort working towards a common goal of either preventing a homeless situation or helping a family be permanently housed. And we were in the talking stages approximately 7 years ago, and our neighbors over in KCK did a program called Impact Wednesday, and they did a call for action with political leaders, with school officials, with philanthropists in the area. And when we tried to look at replicating that here in Johnson County and with the Shawnee Mission School District, we dovetail with about 14 different municipalities. So to have a call for action wasn't in the cards for us, if you will. And so we gathered together some folks that were really behind this idea of working collaboratively for the good of our people and trying to really partner with them. And together, we know that we'd be so much stronger. And so really about 6 years ago was our first year with Project Home, and we had I would say great success. I could share some numbers with you all here in a bit, but we really, I think, remain very focused on the goal of trying to help people be permanently housed or to prevent a homeless situation. And just to be able to see the collaborative effort and the compassion towards our folks who were life challenged and economically challenged is really a beautiful thing.
One of our strengths with multi-service with Project Home is really the prevention piece. And I find in the summer, that's where my head is at, as prevention. And we are fully supported by our leaders to help folks in that prevention. But I feel like with multi-service center, that's really our strength, is the prevention piece.
So if you can come back to talking a little bit more about the increased demand or need for services in our area, and how you all are able to connect to make sure that people are getting what they need. I know there's a My Resource connection there too. If you could talk about that.
Yeah, My Resource Connection is a good place for folks to look, and it's real similar to the United Way 211. If you were to call them, you would find real similar resources on that site. And but My Resource Connection is a great place for folks to look if they're struggling, try to locate resources.
Mm-hmm. We also have the Johnson County Continuum of Care on Homelessness, and the facilitator is from Johnson County
UCS.
Yes, United Community Services. Thank you, Larry. And we have monthly meetings, and there's probably 40 providers and folks from the different municipalities that are representative, that really, again, care about our community and care about our folks, and trying to make sure that we really all work towards eradicating homelessness someday, and trying to do whatever we can to see if we can begin to have some impact on affordable housing, which is, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's been a challenge nationally, but here in our county, it is a real big challenge for us to find housing for folks who are working their tails off. Some people are working 2 or 3 jobs and still spending well over 2/3 of their income towards housing, and that just should not be.
And through UCS, they set up the homeless hubs at Catholic Charities, Mental Health, and Salvation Army, where folks can get on a list, and then the list is kind of prioritized, but it's reviewed, and they're really trying to help rehouse those families that are on that homeless hub list. So that's been real helpful.
I think, another thing that people don't necessarily fully understand is kind of the definition of homelessness. It's not necessarily somebody living on the street. It could be somebody who is simply, couch surfing, or, very temporarily staying with a relative or a friend. So can you talk a little bit about that and why that's still something of a concern?
It is. The HUD definition of homelessness is a little different than the definition of homelessness defined through the McKinney-Vento Act. The McKinney-Vento Act, the whole essence of it is to remove barriers for kids to be in school. And so we consider anybody that is doubled up, living with other family members or friends due to economic hardship, they fall under our umbrella, under the McKinney-Vento umbrella, and are considered a non-permanent housing, which we would consider homeless. So, but there is, I think, some people that, some families choose that multi-generational living, which is a beautiful thing, but some are doing it purely because of economic challenge and hardship.
And so, just again, if we can talk about the collaboration that's been happening, and what are you hearing among other helping organizations about the growing needs or continued needs, even though things seem to be starting to get back to normal?
I know the agencies that I work with, like Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, and Jewish Family, at times have been very overwhelmed with the amount of need right now. The rent assistance has been a big thing, but and like I said, we've tried to partner as much as we can. I think everybody's stretched pretty thin, and it really has picked up over the last month.
As Larry mentions, we will be seeing I suspect a little bit down the road, probably a much greater uptick. And we haven't seen quite the fallout yet of what the pandemic, the impact of the pandemic.
And as you're seeing people enroll their children in school, get registered and all of that, are you, is there some sort of process where you're kind of screening or looking for signs that people might need some help?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so our staff are getting more and more informed, that are on the front lines about asking families about their situation. And if they do say that they're living with other people, they might, then it becomes a residency issue oftentimes. And the residency officers here might say, this looks like this could probably fall under McKinney-Vento. So I think our folks that are seeing people when they first come in are a lot further down the road than we were maybe 5 or 10 years ago about kind of keeping a close eye out for some of these situations.
Our staff are pretty aware of David, and we will refer, if we're working with the Shawnee Mission family and we kind of see that they qualify for McKinney-Vento, we will link them up to David. So there's been a lot of that's gone on as well, that families he wasn't maybe aware of that would qualify for McKinney-Vento. So.
And Olathe started something similar to Project Home in their school district about a year after we had our first year. And so they've had great success with that program. So if we have folks out that way, and then of course KCK, and I believe KCMO has something similar now to Project Home as well. So the collective and collaborative model, I think, has really spoken for itself in terms of that initiative of working together can certainly help a lot of families and students.
That's great information. I know Aging and Human Services has done some great and sort of innovative things throughout the pandemic to get more resources, including sort of a digital food drive so that people could go to Amazon and pick out some items and have them shipped directly to the facilities. So can you talk a little bit about how our listeners can help those who are in need?
Yeah. One of the ways is when we have virtual food drives or neighborhood food drives to pitch in that, because we do serve a lot of folks that are in need of food, which is great. And all of our multi-service centers, we each have a 501c3 account, and we're able to use that account. It's our CFSS account. We're able to use that for emergency need. If there's a unique utility assistance or some other situation, we're able to access those funds to help folks. And when we have Feed the Need, they donate money to our 501c3 accounts, and that's super helpful. In addition, Project Home also has ways to donate, and we've been very fortunate to have some good donors assist with that to help those folks as well.
And the other agencies that are involved with Project Home, we can kind of piecemeal together, if you will. There might be somebody who is, let's say, a month behind on rent, or they have a utility bill that's a barrier for them to be getting into housing. So it might be Human Services, Jewish Family Services, Catholic Charities. It might be Shawnee Mission School District. The Shawnee Mission Education Foundation has been wonderful in supporting Project Home. And we also have some of our faith-based communities like Vineyard Church and New City that have been terrific. And together we can put some of our resources together to help a family out of a difficult spot.
And any suggestions or ideas about how to sort of remedy the housing situation? I've seen some news articles lately talking about how certain properties are being turned into lower income housing. So are we seeing more of that happening?
I haven't seen it, unfortunately, in our county, but I know what you're talking about, and I think that there's some really innovative things going on nationally, from tiny houses to kind of smaller communities and landlords who are out there. And if any landlords are listening right now, call Larry or myself. If you have a heart for this, because we really desperately need to find housing for some of our folks who are working those 2 to 3 jobs and really working their tails off, but and they might have 2 or 3 kids, and when you try to put a lot of food on the table and address all of those needs, plus pay rent and your gas to get to those jobs, it doesn't leave much, if any at all. So housing is a big piece of that. And if we can develop more affordable housing, I think we're going to be better for it.
Well, I appreciate all the information that you both have provided. I guess just the last question would be, if we have people in need, how do they get in touch with you? How do they access those resources that you provide?
For us, the best thing for them would be to call our phone agents at 913-715-6653. And after doing some research with my coworkers, I found the best way to locate our services online is if you actually Google Johnson County Outreach, and it'll list all of our services, and it'll also have the aging services, and they have some wonderful supports for our seniors, but it'll all be listed on that page. So that's probably the easiest way to access that information.
And if any of our listeners have students in Shawnee Mission School District and they'd like to speak to me directly, I'd be happy to take that call. And my number is 913-993-8675.
All right. Again, thank you both for all the great information, and hopefully it helps out those who need it, but it also gives people a great way to help. All right. And thank you for listening.
You just heard JoCo on the Go. Join us next time for more Everything Johnson County. Have a topic you want to discuss? We want to hear from you. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at JoCoGov. For more on this podcast, visit jocogov.org/podcast. Thanks for listening.